The moment you stop trying to fix everyone else, life quietly begins to fix you. Many of you are tired, not because you are doing too much, but because you are doing too much for the wrong reasons, trying to impress, trying to prove, trying to keep up, and somewhere in that race, you forgot yourself. Today is not about becoming selfish. Today is about becoming centered. Because when you focus on yourself, not your ego, but your growth, everything changes. When people hear the words focus on yourself, many feel afraid. They imagine loneliness, distance, ego. They think it means shutting the world out, becoming cold, becoming indifferent. But that understanding is shallow. True focus is not isolation. True focus is alignment. Look at your life honestly. How much of your energy is scattered? A little for pleasing people, a little for proving yourself, a little for chasing validation, a little for worrying about opinions. By the end of the day, you are exhausted. Not because life is heavy, but because your attention is divided. A focused life is not a smaller life, it is a clearer life. Think of a river. When it flows in many directions, it becomes a swamp. Still, stagnant. When the same water is guided into one direction, it becomes powerful enough to carve mountains. Your life energy works the same way. Most people are not tired. They are misaligned. They say yes when their heart says no. They stay where they have outgrown the space. They chase things that look good instead of what feels right. And slowly, without realizing it, they drift away from themselves. Focusing on yourself does not mean ignoring responsibilities. It means choosing them consciously. It means living from intention, not from reaction. When your life is aligned with your values, even effort feels meaningful. A candle does not argue with the darkness. It does not announce itself. It simply stands still and burns with sincerity. And that quiet light changes the room. When you focus on yourself, you stop trying to be everything for everyone. You stop performing. You stop explaining. You stop justifying your worth. You realize something important. Peace does not come from being understood by all. It comes from being honest with yourself. Alignment asks difficult questions. Is this relationship helping me grow or just helping me avoid loneliness? Is this work feeding my soul or only feeding my fear? Is this habit strengthening me or slowly weakening my spirit? These questions are uncomfortable. That is why many avoid them. Distraction is easier than self-reflection. Noise is easier than silence. But growth begins the moment you are brave enough to sit with yourself. When you are aligned, your decisions become simpler. Not easier, but simpler. You no longer debate endlessly because your values decide for you. You no longer chase every opportunity because you know your direction. And something beautiful happens. People start feeling your presence. Not because you are loud, but because you are grounded. You speak less, but your words carry weight. You move slower, but with purpose. You say no without guilt, and yes without resentment. Alignment gives you dignity. When your inner world and outer actions match, anxiety reduces, confusion fades. You stop waking up with the feeling that something is missing. Because what was missing was not success or approval, it was you. Many people lose themselves trying to become someone. Focus brings you back. And from that place of alignment, relationships improve. Not because you try harder, but because you show up whole. You stop needing people to complete you. You allow them to complement you. This is the foundation. Without this, no growth lasts. No success satisfies. No achievement feels enough. So before you fix your career, align your character. Before you chase goals, align your habits. Before you demand respect, align your actions with your values. Because when your life is aligned, you don't need to push. You attract. You don't force. You flow. Focus is not about cutting the world out. It is about finally standing centered within it. And when you stand there, rooted, aligned, sincere, everything else begins to adjust around you. When you don't know who you are, everyone else becomes your mirror. Their success defines you, their opinions shake you, their progress makes you question your worth. That is how comparison quietly enters life. It doesn't arrive loudly, it slips in during scrolling, during conversations, during moments when you are already tired. You see someone doing better, earning more, moving faster, and suddenly your own journey feels smaller. Not because it is, but because you stopped seeing it clearly. Comparison survives in the absence of self-awareness. The moment you begin to understand yourself, your strengths, your limitations, your pace, comparison starts losing its grip. Because you realize something freeing, not everyone is running the same race. Most people compare outcomes without comparing starting points. They compare highlights without knowing the history. They compare speed without knowing direction. A rose does not wake up insecure because a sunflower is taller. A river does not feel inferior because a mountain is still. Each exists with purpose. Each grows in its own way. But when you are disconnected from yourself, you borrow standards that were never meant for you. You try to fit into timelines that don't match your season. You rush growth that requires patience. Focusing on yourself brings clarity. Clarity brings peace. When you know what matters to you, you stop chasing what impresses others. When you know your values, you stop being confused by other people's choices. Their path stops threatening you because it no longer defines you. Self-awareness is not self-criticism, it is self-honesty. It is the courage to say, "This is where I am," not with shame, but with acceptance. From that acceptance, growth becomes natural, because now you are improving from truth, not from insecurity. Comparison creates urgency without purpose. Self-awareness creates patience with direction. Think about how much energy comparison wastes. Energy that could be used to build skills, to deepen faith, to strengthen character. Instead of asking, "Why them?" you start asking, "What is my next step?" And that question changes everything. When you focus on yourself, you celebrate others without feeling smaller. Their success no longer feels like your failure. It becomes proof that growth is possible. Inspiration replaces jealousy. But this shift does not happen overnight. It happens when you consistently return to yourself. When you check in instead of checking feeds. When you measure progress internally, not publicly. You begin to define success differently, not by applause, but by alignment, not by speed, but by sustainability. You stop rushing to arrive. You start honoring the journey. And here is something important. Comparison often hides fear. Fear of being left behind. Fear of not being enough. Fear of wasting time. Self-awareness addresses that fear gently. It reminds you that becoming yourself is not a delay. It is the destination. When you know yourself, you trust timing, you trust the process, you trust that what is meant for you will not require you to become someone else. Comparison makes life noisy. Self-awareness makes life quiet. In that quiet, you hear your intuition again. You reconnect with your inner compass. You stop doubting every decision. And slowly, something beautiful happens. You walk with confidence. No T because you are ahead, but because you are present. You stop proving. You start becoming. This is why focusing on yourself is not selfish. It is essential. Because the world doesn't need another copy. It needs the most honest version of you. When self-awareness grows, comparison fades. When comparison fades, peace enters. And when peace enters, growth becomes steady, sincere, and unstoppable. Motivation is beautiful. It gives you a spark. But discipline is what keeps the fire alive. Most people wait to feel inspired before they act. But life doesn't reward those who wait for feelings. It rewards those who honor commitments, especially the ones made in silence. When you focus on yourself, something shifts. You stop asking, "Do I feel like doing this?" and start asking, "Is this who I want to become?" That one question changes behavior. Motivation rises from emotion. Emotion rises and falls. Discipline rises from identity. Identity stays. On some days you will feel unstoppable. On many days you will feel ordinary. And on a few days you will feel empty. Discipline is what carries you through all three. When you focus inward, you begin building small agreements with yourself. Not dramatic promises, simple ones. Wake up when you said you would. Do the work you said you would do. Rest when you promised yourself rest. And every time you keep one of those promises, even when no one is watching, something powerful grows inside you. Trust. Self-trust is the foundation of confidence. People think confidence comes from winning. But real confidence comes from consistency. From knowing when I say I will do something, I follow through. That confidence is quiet. It doesn't seek approval. It doesn't announce itself. But it shows in how you walk, how you speak, how you handle pressure. When discipline becomes part of your life, excuses start losing their voice. You still hear "am," but they no longer control you. You realize that waiting for motivation is like waiting for the weather to be perfect before stepping outside. Growth doesn't need perfect conditions. It needs commitment. Focusing on yourself teaches you to respect effort, not mood, to honor process, not impulse. Some days you will work with joy, some days you will work with resistance, but you will still work, and slowly the work shapes you. Discipline is not punishment, it is protection. It protects your future from your present impulses. It protects your potential from your comfort zone. Every disciplined choice sends a message to your mind: I matter enough to show up. And that message compounds. You start feeling proud, not because others clap, but because you know what it took. You know the mornings you showed up tired, the nights you stayed consistent, the moments you chose growth over ease. This pride is different from ego. Ego needs witnesses. Self-respect needs only truth. When you focus on yourself, discipline becomes an act of love. You stop being harsh. You become firm and kind at the same time. You forgive yourself for slipping, but you don't abandon the path. You don't spiral into guilt. You return again and again. That ability to return is strength. Life does not transform in a single moment of motivation. It transforms through repeated disciplined actions that feel insignificant at first. No one applauds you for going to bed on time. No one celebrates you for choosing patience over reaction. No one notices when you say no to distractions. But these are the choices that shape destiny. When discipline grows, motivation stops being necessary. Action creates momentum. Momentum creates belief. Belief fuels motivation. The order is reversed. You don't act because you believe because you act. This is how inner confidence forms, not through words, through behavior. When you focus on yourself, you stop waiting for permission. You stop outsourcing responsibility. You become the authority in your own life. And once discipline takes root, no storm can shake you easily, because you are no longer driven by how you feel. You are guided by who you are becoming. That is real power. Most people think emotional strength means controlling others. But real emotional maturity begins the day you stop trying to control anything outside yourself. When you don't focus on yourself, life feels unfair. People feel responsible for your emotions. Circumstances feel like enemies. Every reaction feels justified. But the moment you turn inward, something humbling and liberating happens. You realize no one makes you feel anything. They may trigger you, they may test you, but the response is yours. This realization is not easy. It removes the comfort of blame, and the ego doesn't like that. Blame feels powerful. Responsibility feels heavy. But responsibility is where freedom lives. When you focus on yourself, you stop saying, "They ruined my mood," and start asking, "Why did this affect me so deeply?" That question changes your inner world. You begin to observe yourself instead of defending yourself. You watch your reactions, your patterns, your emotional habits, not with judgment but with curiosity, and awareness softens you. Emotional maturity is not suppressing emotions, it is understanding them. It is allowing yourself to feel without allowing feelings to rule you. A focused person learns to pause. Pause before responding. Pause before assuming. Pause before reacting. That pause creates space. And in that space, wisdom enters. You realize that anger often hides hurt, that irritation often hides fear, that overreaction often hides exhaustion. When you focus on yourself, you take ownership of your inner weather. You stop expecting the world to adjust to your mood. You adjust your mood to meet the world wisely. This doesn't mean becoming passive, it means becoming intentional. You set boundaries without bitterness. You express the truth without aggression. You walk away without resentment. Responsibility gives you emotional independence. You stop handing remote control of your peace to others. You take it back gently, firmly, and something else shifts. You stop carrying emotional baggage that doesn't belong to you. You stop replaying conversations. Stop rehearsing arguments that will never happen. Stop holding grudges that only poison you. Forgiveness becomes easier, not because others deserve it, but because you deserve peace. When you focus on yourself, you understand that peace is not found by changing people. People change when they want to. Peace is found by mastering your responses. This mastery does not make you cold, it makes you calm, and calm is strength. In moments of conflict, you no longer need to win. You need to remain aligned. You choose dignity over dominance, growth over ego. This is where emotional maturity matures into wisdom. You begin to see life as feedback, not punishment. Challenges are no longer personal attacks. They are lessons revealing where growth is still needed. And that perspective builds resilience. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" You start asking, "What is this teaching me?" That shift removes victimhood. It places you back in the driver's seat. When you focus on yourself, you stop seeking emotional validation from the outside. You don't need constant reassurance. You become steady. Steadiness doesn't mean numbness, it means depth. You feel deeply but you don't drown. And because you are no longer reactive, relationships improve. People feel safer around you. Conversations become calmer. Conflicts become shorter. Not because life becomes perfect, but because you have grown. Emotional maturity is quiet. It doesn't announce itself, but it is felt. It shows in how you listen, in how you disagree, in how you let go. And the greatest gift of taking responsibility for your emotions is this. You realize that peace is not something you chase, it is something you practice daily, deliberately, gently. When you begin to focus on yourself, something subtle but powerful starts to happen. Your standards rise, not because you are trying to be superior, but because you are no longer willing to live below your potential. At first, this change feels uncomfortable. You start noticing things you once tolerated, conversations that drain you, environments that confuse you, patterns that keep you small. And you wonder, why does this bother me now when it didn't before? It bothers you because you are growing. Growth sharpens awareness, and awareness demands alignment. When your inner life improves, your outer life must adjust. That includes the people around you. Not everyone who enters your life is meant to stay for every season. Some come to teach, some come to support, some come to test, and some leave to make space. This is not rejection, it is evolution. When you focus on yourself, you stop lowering your standards just to feel accepted. You stop laughing at things that hurt you. You stop staying silent where your truth needs voice. Boundaries become clearer, not loud, not aggressive, but firm. You realize that saying no is not unkind, over-explaining is. You stop justifying your needs. You trust that those who respect you will understand, and those who don't were never meant to stay close. As your standards rise, some people will feel uncomfortable, not because you are wrong, but because your growth highlights what they are avoiding. Your discipline reminds them of their excuses. Your peace reminds them of their chaos. And this is where many people feel guilt. They think, am I changing too much? Am I becoming distant? Am I being selfish? But focusing on yourself teaches a powerful truth. Growth will always offend comfort. You are not responsible for managing other people's insecurities. You are responsible for protecting your integrity. As your CLE changes, quality replaces quantity. Conversations deepen, energy becomes lighter. You spend less time explaining and more time building. You may find yourself alone at times. But this solitude is different. It is not lonely. It is spacious. It gives you time to think, to reflect, to strengthen. Silence becomes nourishing. And in that space, you begin attracting people who match your values, not your wounds. People who respect your time, who celebrate your growth, who challenge you without draining you. Focusing on yourself refines your relationships. You no longer bond over complaining. You bond over purpose. You stop sharing everything with everyone. You choose wisely. This discernment is not arrogance. It is maturity. You understand that access to you is a privilege, not a right. And you honor that by being selective, not secretive. When your standards rise, drama reduces. You no longer entertain unnecessary conflict. You don't argue to prove. You disengage to protect peace, and peace becomes your new measure of success. You stop chasing connections. You allow alignment. You trust that what is meant for you will meet you at the level you have grown to. This shift can feel lonely before it feels freeing. But remember, elevation often requires separation, not forever, but for growth. The right people will stay, the right ones will find you. And the ones who leave were only meant for a chapter, not the whole story. Focusing on yourself teaches you that outgrowing people is not betrayal, it is honesty. And honesty is kindness to yourself and to others. As your inner world stabilizes, your external world reorganizes, gently, naturally, and from this place of higher standards, a deeper sense of purpose begins to emerge, where life is no longer about pressure, but about meaning. Pressure is loud, the purpose is quiet. Pressure says, I must prove something. Purpose whisper, I am here to serve something. Most people live under pressure. Pressure to succeed, pressure to be seen, pressure to meet expectations. Societies, families, even their own imagined ones. And this pressure slowly drains joy from achievement. When you focus on yourself, not your image but your inner compass, something shifts. You begin to ask a different question, not how do I look, but why am I doing this? That question changes ambition. You realize that chasing success without meaning feels empty. You can reach milestones and still feel restless. You can achieve goals and still feel unsatisfied. Because the soul is not nourished by applause, it is nourished by purpose. Purpose does not eliminate hard work, it gives it direction. When your actions are connected to something larger than ego, pressure reduces. You stop forcing outcomes, you stop panicking about timelines, you stop measuring your worth by results alone. Purpose allows you to breathe, you begin to work from intention, not desperation. You are no longer driven by fear of falling behind, but by a desire to contribute. And contribution changes how effort feels. Hard work with pressure feels heavy. Hard work with purpose feels meaningful. The same work, different energy. When you focus on yourself, you discover what genuinely matters to you. Not what looks impressive, not what trends, but what aligns with your values. Maybe it's helping others grow. Maybe it's creating something honest. Maybe it's building stability for your family. Whatever it is, once you find it, your energy becomes steady. You stop burning out because you are no longer burning for approval. Purpose anchors you during uncertainty. When outcomes are unclear, purpose keeps you moving. When results are slow, purpose keeps you patient. When recognition is absent, purpose keeps you grounded. Pressure asks, "What will people say?" Purpose asks, "Am I being faithful to what I believe?" This shift changes how you handle failure. Failure no longer defines you. It informs you. You learn, you adjust, you continue, because your identity is not tied to outcomes, it is tied to intention. Purpose also softens comparison. When you know why you are walking a path, you stop being distracted by others on different roads. Their speed doesn't threaten you. Their success doesn't rush you. You are not late, you are aligned. Focusing on yourself teaches you that life is not a competition, it is a contribution. And contribution brings fulfillment that achievement alone never can. You begin to ask, how can I be useful? How can I add value? How can I grow and help others grow? These questions elevate ambition. They turn work into service, and service brings peace. When your life serves something beyond self-interest, stress loosens its grip. Anxiety reduces. You still care, but you don't cling. You give your best, then let go of control. Purpose creates trust. Trust in timing, trust in effort, trust that what is meant to reach you will arrive when you are ready to hold it. And this trust creates calm strength. You no longer hustle blindly, you move intentionally, you rest without guilt, you work without resentment. Pressure exhausts, purpose sustains. When you focus on yourself deeply, you realize that success is not about how much you accumulate, but about how much you align. Alignment between what you believe and how you live, between who you are becoming and how you serve. That alignment brings fulfillment no promotion can replace. And from that fulfillment, peace begins to form, not as a reward, but as a natural state. A peace that does not depend on circumstances. This is where the journey leads, from focus to awareness, to discipline, to maturity, to higher standards, to purpose, and from purpose to inner peace. Inner peace is not something you achieve at the end of life. It is something you choose again and again in the middle of life. Most people think peace will come after success, after the promotion, after the money, after the recognition. But peace does not wait at the finish line. Peace walks with those who are aligned. When you focus on yourself truly, you stop postponing peace. You stop saying, "One day I'll be calm," or "Once things settle down, I'll be happy." You realize something profound: life may never fully settle. And that's okay. Because peace is not the absence of chaos, it is the presence of clarity. Clarity about what you can control and what you must release. Inner peace begins when you stop fighting reality, not giving up, not becoming passive, but accepting what is without resentment. You stop arguing with the present moment, you meet it with awareness. A focused life teaches you this gently. You learn to let go of perfection. You stop punishing yourself for mistakes. You stop replaying the past and rehearsing the future. You come back to now. And in the present moment, peace is always available. Inner peace changes how success feels. Without peace, success is never enough. You reach one goal and immediately feel pressure for the next. You win, but you can't rest. You achieve, but you can't enjoy. With peace, even small progress feels meaningful. You celebrate quietly. You remain grateful. You don't need constant stimulation to feel alive. Peace is not boredom, it is depth. When you focus on yourself, peace becomes your priority. Not comfort, not convenience, peace. And because of that, your decisions change. You choose progress over perfection. You choose long-term growth over short-term pleasure. You choose rest without guilt. You stop chasing everything. You start choosing wisely. Inner peace also transforms fear. Fear does not disappear. Boo. It loses control. You still feel nervous before big steps. You still feel uncertain during transitions. But fear no longer paralyzes you, because peace gives you trust. Trust in your ability to handle what comes. Trust that you don't need to know everything right now. Trust that even if things don't go your way, you will remain grounded. This trust is powerful. With inner peace, you don't rush conversations. You listen fully. You respond thoughtfully. You disagree without hostility. You let silence speak. People feel this energy. They may not understand it, but they feel safe around it. Peace makes you strong without being rigid, soft without being weak. You stop seeking validation. Compliments become pleasant, not necessary. Criticism becomes information, not identity. You no longer hand your self-worth to other people. Inner peace also deepens gratitude. You notice small blessings, ordinary moments, a quiet morning, a sincere smile, a breath taken without urgency. You realize that happiness is not always loud. Sometimes it whispers, and here is the most important truth. Inner peace is not built in isolation from effort. It is built through alignment. When your actions match your values, when your words match your intentions, when your life reflects your beliefs, that alignment removes inner conflict. And where there is no inner conflict, peace naturally flows. You no longer feel divided. You feel whole. Focusing on yourself does not make life perfect. Problems still arise. Challenges still test you. Loss still hurts. But peace changes how you move through it all. You grieve without bitterness. You struggle without despair. You grow without losing yourself. And this becomes your greatest achievement. Not how much you earned, not how many people know your name, but how deeply you remained yourself in a noisy world. Inner peace is not flashy. It won't impress everyone, but it will save you from burnout, from bitterness, from losing your way. So choose focus, choose alignment, choose growth with humility, and remember this: life is not about being perfect. It is about being present. When you focus on yourself, not your ego, but your inner truth, you don't just change your life, you finally live it. Life is not asking you to be flawless. It is asking you to be faithful to your effort. You don't grow by defeating others. You grow by mastering yourself. When you walk with humility, discipline becomes devotion. When you act with sincerity, work becomes worship. And when you live with gratitude, even ordinary days carry grace. Do not wait for the world to change before you begin. Begin, and the world will respond. Focus on your character when no one is watching. Serve with a heart that expects nothing in return. Trust the process, even when progress feels slow. Because destiny does not reward noise, it honors consistency. And remember this: when you surrender your ego and stay committed to growth, life aligns in ways effort alone never could. Walk your path with faith, do your duty with love, leave the results to something higher than yourself. That is how real change begins.